Hey folks, 4WRC here. We have... Can you guess what it is? This is 3339-00, fits SCX10, Honcho and other 12.3 inch wheelbase crawlers. That's 313 millimeters. This apparently is a discontinued product now. I really struggled to find this. I got this from rpphobby.com in America. This gives you solid wheel arches and side parts that... Let me get the truck over here. This is going to be sprayed. I'll probably do it black. Obviously got some cutting out to do. When you're actually looking at a truck with a body shell on, if you're taking like a camera angle from the side and kind of looking up at that kind of angle, you don't see all the wires and stuff inside. When you're filming and looking at a truck, you just see a black wheel arch like you would do on the real vehicle. At the front here, this probably doesn't show, it's not sprayed, but there's kind of the indentations of a radiator grille, so you can obviously spray that silver if you want to be fancy. That'll set up at the front, and then the JK Jeep Rubicon body, you'll see the radiator through it. One little thing to note on this, I didn't mention and skimmed over it about the wheelbase. If these are being made again and you want to buy one for your SCX10, make sure you get the right one. Obviously the different types of SCX10 have got different wheelbases. We're talking measuring from the front axle to the back axle, so going from there to there. This is the SCX10 Jeep Rubicon, which has got the longer wheelbase. This is the 12.3 inch one, so if you ever go to buy one of these, make sure you get the right one, otherwise your wheel arches are going to be in the wrong place. Right, here we are back on the floor pan. A few seconds for you, a few weeks for me. I've been doing some research on this and chewing over the best way to approach it. I've spoken to Proline on their technical support email, and they've been quite helpful, although this is currently in September 2013 a discontinued product. They were still happy to talk to me about it. They said with regards cutting out, what they advised was kind of a safe cut it out where you need to. That's going to depend on your particular model. And then I said to them, okay, once I've cut it out, how do I fix it on the chassis? They said most people use double-sided tape. Okay, I wasn't quite happy about that, but let's explain cutting out so far. So to start with, what I've done is take a bunch of stuff off of the chassis just to give me easier access to get this on, have a look at it, take it off, cut some bits off, and so on. So I've removed all the shock towers. They will need to go on for final fitment checking because there's some holes at the front and back I need to cut for that, but not initially. I've taken off the front battery mounted tray. Obviously if your battery's mounted on the back, remove that as well. That's so you can actually get the bottom part of this floor pan touching on the chassis at the front and back, and then your battery will screw on through and onto that. Also, I've removed the receiver box because the receiver box is going to go in this hole, it's just in the way. Part one was just to lay it on top with no holes drilled and have a rough look to see where things are going to go. The big area that's cut out here, that actually had a mark in the mould for a cutout line, so I just followed that, and that seems to pretty much clear. I had to take an extra chunk out on the side here just to clear the transmission over this side, so that's just pop the wires through. It's just clearing up there, so that clears now. So that was the first part. Then I was trying to get the floor pan down to actually touch onto the chassis. Right, then the second thing I had to cut out after doing the big void here using the Proline marks on the mould was down at the back. Now this is the 2012 Rubicon, and oh yeah, I don't think I mentioned, obviously take your bumpers off before fitting. This has bumpers that slide on through this sort of tubes here, and these stick out and actually foul on the moulding here, so I had to cut some holes out just there and there, so I can now slide this along. And then I was starting to work out, okay, now I need to get the front to come down to lay on the chassis, right, it's servo whole time. To do that, there is cut out marks on the moulding itself, but depending on where your servo is, they're going to be right or wrong. Now I've got a chassis mounted servo at the front, so instead I just took a permanent marker and just looked down and eyeballed and marked around where I needed clearance. and then more cutting out. All the cutting out I've been doing is just using a Dremel with a nice cutting disc on, and then for some of the corners I've been smoothing it out with a round bit, just so I can get a nice apex. So instead of there being a point of stress where you might get a crack, it's rounded off. So thus far we've got the big void, 2 holes at the back for initial fitment clearance. I think I might have to chop the back of this off to actually clear where the bumper's going to go on the floor pan. I don't think I can have all of the moulding as it stands. I'm dremeling session later, and I've cut off the spare bit of the sprue, so that's more like the that's how the floor pan's going to be in rough cutout. I've cut maybe 2 or 3 millimeters above the cutout line, and I'll tidy that up later. But I should be able to roughly fit this on now and see what's going on. So if I align this approximately for the wheel arches, you can see at the back here, obviously some stuff's got to go. This floor pan obviously can do a honcho, which is going to have a different back to this SCX10 Rubicon. Right, so I decided to take the Rubicon body out and just do a very rough cut, a few millimeters below the cutout marks everywhere, just so I can get the Rubicon body going on top of the Proline floor pan, just to get an idea of where everything's going to sit together. Now obviously at the back you can see the problem. There's the end of the Rubicon body. The front is interesting at the moment. Here's the body and here's the line of the floor pan. Now I've cut the floor pan out just above the line on the Proline casting. Obviously this has got to come all the way down. There's the fake radiator, there's the radiator grille, so we're looking about an inch to further drop that I need to achieve. But at the moment the wheel arch is fouling, the Bodyshell wheel arch is fouling on this part of the floor pan. What's going on? Have I chickened out? No, honestly I will trim this floor pan. But before I do, I wanted to give myself some more information to make sure I'm doing the right thing on the floor pan. So I've decided to do some more work on cutting out the body shell. This is almost a final cut, needs a bit of finishing, but I've been much more accurately cutting the body shell out along all the cut lines, and then importantly I've been fitting the flares. With regards to cutting out the body shell, there's lots of videos and information about that, but in summary, if you can get access to a rotary tool like a Dremel, an absolute godsend for this kind of thing. They're just the best thing for doing careful cutting, and importantly wherever you've got kind of like a corner coming in, you want to have that slightly smoothed out, so that when you bash your body, if you have a crash or something, that corner isn't going to split as a crack. It's going to be a nice smooth radius, should help avoid cracking. Anywho, right, fitting the flares. You drill some holes and put them in the body. Sounds simple. Well, yes, but here's a couple of tips that I hope will save you some time if you're doing this for the first time. Flares themselves come as 2 parts. You've got the outer that's going to go on the body, and then you've got an inner here, and they go together, and the Lexan sits in the middle, so it clamps onto the body shell. So you've got that's on the outer, and then that will go, if I get it around the right way, that'll go on the inside, and then you screw through, having drilled your holes. Thing is, there are no marks on the body shelf where the holes should go, so you need to work it out. Best thing I've found for that is go and look at some body shells on YouTube, or do a Google image search for SCX10s. Find out where other people are putting them. You'll get an idea. Look on the box of your kit, and also maybe go and have a look at some real Jeeps as well to see where their flares start and finish. On the back, you've got a definite position where you have to kind of get it right, and then it's not so bad at the other end. So on the back, this end here, there's a cut line that comes straight off there, and you want to have the flare, just the absolute tip of the flare, coming to line up with the end of the body shell. So we're talking just about like that roughly. So that gives you one of your important positions. Actually, I tell a lie, it's slightly higher up, so I'm now looking at where these screw holes need to go. Also, you will notice if you get the body shell in the light, there's a very faint line where the flare should go. The Lexan's a very slightly different texture. You have to kind of move it and get the light catching on it. So position that like so. Now I found to get this right, another good datum on the back is that the the flare itself is running parallel, completely parallel with the top of the body. So once you've got that positioned right, what I found was, and you can see it here, there's a line in the body shell. This is where the door starts and finishes, and the flare's just covering it. So what I was doing on the other side, hold your body shell up, stick your head underneath, and then put some marks on the Lexan where the holes are going to go. But don't do the front first, do the back few holes here. Mark maybe the back 2 or 3 screw holes, drill those, and then that will hold the flare in place. And then what you need to do is very slightly flex that flare down. I'm exaggerating here, you know, flex it down, not that much obviously. So the flare's kind of, I'm exaggerating again, sticking out too far over the door, so you need to bring that down very slightly. When you've got it in the right position, remembering it's already being held by screws up here, you can mark your last 2 screw holes, drill those, fit them. Up on the front, it's not so bad. Your datum where you should start is at the end here. There's this kind of big long like running board on the body, and there's a line here, so as that comes along, where that stops just there, that's where you want to bring the flare down to. And again, on the Lexan there is a very faint line if you get the light catching it the right way. Now initially I thought that the flare would run parallel with this line in the body shell where the bonnet is. It doesn't. It's slightly thicker at the central part of the body, and then thins out towards the front. So position it how you like it. Again, hold your body shell up and then mark these. Again, do the first few screws, check you're happy, and then you can have a bit of a waggle on the front, bit of artistic license about exactly where you want that finishing. Right, shock posts are back on. I've put all the screws in but not done them up really tight because this is all going to have to come back off again. And this is the first time I've got the floor pan in a position where it's pretty much fitted on everything where it should go. So the shock posts are the big thing now that I've just done, and it seems to be fine. At the back, the suspension is going up and down, and there's not too much fouling. There is a little bit of a rub on the back there, but I think this is going to get chopped off anyway because of the body shell. The front's a different story. Can definitely get the tyre to rub and strike there, but this bit's going to be cut off. I'm going to have to cut that in to clear the Rubicon body. Okay, it's not finished yet, but I have finally chopped off front and back the Proline floor pan. It took me a long time to decide what to cut and how much. A lot of that is completely superfluous. If you're not using the floor pan, you don't care. And I believe it's still discontinued, certainly as of October 2013. But you know, maybe one day the floor pan will be made by Proline again. I did find a guy from, I think it's Australia, on YouTube called RC Escapes. Looks like he's made his own mould to make a floor pan that fits the Rubicon properly. He doesn't seem to be selling it though, which is a shame. So what I did find was this floor pan. The Proline floor pan does not fit the Axial Rubicon body. At the front here it's too wide. The floor pan comes out like this and kind of goes down, and as you turn the wheels and move your wheel up, it was crashing right into the floor pan. Now I've actually cut this away here. You can see I've got a separate piece of Lexan. That's the cut line I did on the floor pan that clears the wheels, but then when I put the body shell on, I'm seeing daylight through there, and I can see into the chassis, which I don't like. So I've got another piece of Lexan. It's off an under tray from an old model buggy. Happens to be about the right shape, so they're going to be painted black and stuck on once I've painted the main under tray. Annoyingly, Axial do not give you any marks on the body shell as where to locate your body, how far forwards or backwards. What I have found after looking at lots of pictures on the internet, your body shell posts, yeah, they're not going to help you. What I found was really helpful, I don't know if you can see this on the camera, but there's a cut line here. Don't cut it, it was a panel join between the rear door and the rest of the body. That line there should line up pretty much exactly with, you see the fake piggyback shock absorber just there, the cut line should line up with the front edge of that piggyback unit. Oops, sorry, just there. So that was a really useful sight line for how far forwards and backwards. Now you want to make sure that your body shell is not too low, otherwise on extremes of suspension travel, and I don't mean the whole truck going down, I mean one wheel going up, you can end up with fouling. So you want to make sure it's back with that line lining up there, and then height wise, the back of the body shell and the front of the body shell should be about 5-6 millimeters above the C section of the chassis, about that high up. You can tell you got about the right place, because when you crank the suspension up it won't touch. The worst one is when you articulate the steering up here. If your body shell's too far forwards, it's going to snag on that screw point there, so you'll know if your body's too far forwards. And if it's too low, when you go up like that way, can't grab hold of it, like that way, you're going to get touching on the bumper.